Welcome to the importance of considering student preference of online course design elements as part of an iterative QM-based design process. Our speakers today are Murat Dagistan and Tom Stafford. They're both from Kent State University. They both work in the Educational Technology Department. Thank you.
I have a microphone, but this time I'm not going to sing. I used to sing in a band. I used to sing in a metal group. Don't worry, I'm not going to scream. And this time I'm going to do something nice for the good of others. Okay. Tom and I, actually, the title is a little bit fancy, but I think we believe that it is expressive enough. And Tom and I, we always ask ourselves, okay, QM is a necessary collection of ideas. It is really necessary because if we leave the design to somebody else, in the end, if 100 people design something, they are going to be unique and different. What about the standards? What about the consistency in the institution? And we believe that, we strongly believe that QM is a kind of dialogue between the QM principles, design principles, and the faculty. And we ask ourselves another critical question. Where is the voice of students? Okay, today we are going to share with you what we did. We did a mini research, a mini survey. We are going to share the findings with you. And also we would like to get your idea. What do you think about student voice? If you believe that design is an iterative process, in that iteration, where is the voice of students placed or should take place? Tom?
So one of the things we want to make sure that this session includes is an interactive dialogue or discussion with the group. So I've got the microphone right now, but Murat might have at some point. We'll walk up and down the aisles if you have any questions. Or if you just want to shout them from the back, we'll try to repeat them so when they videotape, it's part of the recording. But we do want to get your input on this. We realized that the study we did was kind of lightweight, doesn't necessarily address everything, but it's an idea. It's an important concept to include student perceptions and related to QM, related to the design choices we make as designers and developers. It's important to get the student voice in there and to consider that as part of the process for revision or for course design in general.
Yeah, and whatever we present here is not conclusive. We are just provide options, or we're just trying to provide you with some inspirations. Because we know that design can change based on the subject matter or course or discipline. For example, in this study, our participants were from early childhood group. I'm sure their needs, their expectations would be different in a statistics class. And in the meantime, I would like to say, I would like to emphasize the student voice here. There's a very beautiful word in Italian. It is lontano. Lontano means, I know it exists, but it is so distant. And from a distance, you don't hear that voice sometimes. And Tom and I, in this research, in this study, we just wanted to hear that voice. And we asked students what they need. And while we are presenting this, please note that we strongly believe that design should be consistent, should not change that much. There should be a consistency. It should be stable, and content should change. And in this case, we're going to highlight that fact. Tom?
Okay, so we've already been introduced, but basically we work in Kent State University as part of a distance education team. Murat and I are partners. We've been working together for 3 years, supporting our faculty to develop, revise, and work on their online sections, including hybrids and blended courses.
As of April 10,
yeah.
It is our third year.
Yeah,
It's
so
our anniversary.
we talk about our honeymoon phase a lot, particularly when we're excited about topics and research, and when we're presenting here. This is my first presentation, by the way. So yay, that's on the board. Murat's an old hat at this, so hopefully it's good. But anyway, so this is exciting, honeymoon phase.
Yes.
And we support a lot of diverse faculty from a lot of different areas. So just bear in mind that we juggle a lot of the same things that you deal with in your environments.
And sorry. Okay. And while we are doing such survey, we always rely on something, some experts like Krashen. Krashen believes that students should need some input to be productive. And that input should be structured, not controlled, because if you structure something, you liberate the learners. But it has to be presented in an organized way. And here we are going to highlight our Kent State template, which presents content in a very structured and organized way. And we build all our arguments upon that.
Yeah, so a little bit about our environment right now. We're Blackboard Learn Shop, so the university uses that as their LMS, although we are searching right now potentially for a replacement. Maybe it's the new version of Blackboard Ultra. Maybe it's something else in the works, Canvas. I'll just say that on the side under my breath because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce that. But we're looking at options. We're looking at changes, and taking into consideration where we are, I think, is important because it gives you an idea of what challenges we meet. Do any of you use Blackboard in your environments? Show of hands. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a pretty common platform for us to use. We realize the benefits, the strengths and the weaknesses of Blackboard and what the particular challenges are for us doing instructional design work or educational technology work, and for our faculty trying to learn the ropes and learn what's possible and what's not possible. So again, we're part of Education, Health, and Human Services. We've got 4 main schools in there that range from foundation, leadership and administration, health sciences, lifespan development, and teaching, learning, and curriculum studies. We have a number of undergraduate programs, a lot of graduate programs, and some doctoral programs as well. And we currently have 4 fully online, 100% online programs right now, but we have a number of degrees, certificates and endorsements, and as well as workshops. So that's where we are. So how do we use QM in our shop? We use it as a guide for our faculty when we're sitting down and consulting them on course design. We also use it as sort of a checklist to assess overall course quality. Bethany, I think we stole this particular information from your information on the website, so we borrowed it. Thank you for that. So we do have our faculty work through the QM online self-review process, so that's part of it. And we also do internal reviews. They're only internal as part of our process when we're looking at courses and assessing them for quality during design and revision phases. Along with this, we also have some tools that we've put in place over the years. We've evolved these tools to sort of address some of our design needs and alignment with QM. And one of the main tools that we use is the Kent State Online Template, which is our template which addresses a lot of the pieces and parts related to QM in terms of design. So that's an important part of what we do. Go ahead, Murat.
Kent State template is really important for us because we know that our faculty they are experts in content design. They don't have to be the experts in course design. They may not be familiar with the technological tools. It's our responsibility. And in our consultation meetings, they present the content. We help them to put that content in a very organized way into our template. And our template has very nice. Tom, can you please switch to the next one? Yeah, this is our template, one screenshot. And everything is really consistent with QM principles. And for example, introduction, learning outcomes, and overview. This is what our students see when they go to that course page.
Yeah, so we try to make it as easy as possible for faculty. Obviously, it helps with our workflow as well. So in the guise of looking at student perceptions and perspectives, just understand that this is some of the mechanisms behind the scenes that we use in terms of trying to help develop and design courses that meet QM standards as well as address any quality concerns within the program. And so now on to the study. This is the meat of the matter. Go ahead, Murat.
Actually, that Kent State template actually represents our presentation, our preference, institutional preference of presenting a subject matter, a topic. And we randomly chose a group of students from early childhood. And response rate was higher than we expected. And we delivered the survey at the 6th week out of a 15 week semester. And yeah, most of the participants were female students, and maybe it's because of early childhood program. Yeah, before we proceed, we would like to ask you a couple of questions. And the most critical one is this: if design is iterative, we have some understanding, we have experienced a couple of conflicts, and we are asking you now, if the design process is iterative, where do the learners stand in this process? Where we can hear students' voice, or where should we give them a chance to express themselves or their needs?
Yeah, so thinking about your own environment and the approach that you might take at your institutions, how do you get that student voice into the design process? How do you consider it as part of reviewing or revising courses? Do you have a process in place where you're already doing something like this? Are you already asking questions? Hey, we have a volunteer. This is great. Let's see if the cord reaches. Here you go, Murat.
I was just going to say that one of the things that I do is at the very beginning of the course, I ask them like what their experience is with online courses and what they have liked and disliked about the courses. And so I can get a heads up for what they're looking for and what I can do to be, responsive to those needs.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to share? Have a question? Have a response?
It's okay. I sort of get a baseline in the beginning of the class because mostly I'm a nurse, so I teach in the nursing, and most of the students are coming back to school. They're an older student, and so they have fears of being online and if they're going to, be successful taking the course. So I kind of ask question in the beginning, like what's their baseline, what are they comfortable with, and then that kind of gears for the rest. So.
We have a standard end of module survey question set that we give faculty the option of incorporating into their course, especially the first time that it's running after a design or redesign. And the questions are related only to the design of the course, and this becomes a very prominent part of our revision process. So that, along with a document that we keep as we're designing the course with the faculty called the revision roadmap, that really helps us, helps guide us as to maybe which materials or assignments we're really working, which ones maybe need some work, and which ones were not helpful to students. So it's a vital part of our process.
Okay, so I think that there are a lot of different approaches to assessing what students are looking for in terms of design elements and other responses to the way they perceive the course and the course quality. But I think the important thing to take away is that the best way to get that answer is to ask your students what they think of the instruction that's being delivered, to really take an assessment of the students, whether it's ahead of time or whether it's part of your process as you go through each module, or whether it's at the end as part of your survey of instruction, just asking specific questions about the design and how it supported their learning, and just trying to get that information from them.
Yeah. And you may ask, how did you come up with this set of questions here? These survey questions, actually the questions students ask. We had a meeting with students, and they were having some problems, some issues with the online course, let's say. And these are the questions they ask, and we put them in a survey format. And here, the first question, actually, they said, I prefer, some people said, one single long video about a topic. Some others said, a series of short videos about the same topic. And Tom and I, after we did the data analysis, we highlighted the QM standards that might be relevant to those responses.
So what were the percentages out there?
Percentages, yeah. Actually, in early childhood program, 68.60% of students, class members or participants, they preferred a series of short videos about the same topic. And other group of students asked about or commented about the length of videos. And that is the next question. I'll look at that. Another group said they prefer a web page like course navigation. Some others said to see everything on the same page. This is our students, as Bethany highlighted. There should be a balance between the design and the content. And this is, in that discipline, this is students' preference. And they are so close. Half of the group, in statistics class, it might be quite different. But that particular group, half of the class, wanted to see everything on the same page. You see, we have something like split decision. In such cases, template and QM principles help. And Tom, you would like to say anything about this, or?
I'd like to say that maybe this question, the responses on this question might reflect the individual course and their struggles in that particular course. But it also might be ambiguous in terms of the language, like what does it mean to have web page like course navigation? What does it mean to have a page have everything on the same page? It might mean something different to every student. So asking the questions in a different way or looking at it is probably a different way to go about it, or a better way to go about it. There's other ways to find these answers. This is just the approach we took in this particular case. Did you have a question?
Well, I was going to make a comment that it would be nice, maybe possibly, if students could have a preference about how their web page is set up from the LMS standpoint. So if we have a Blackboard in your case, where students can choose how they'd like to set up their web page, that would be a nice option to suggest to Canvas, Blackboard, and LMS designers, and giving them that option.
Yeah, that's a great idea to have them have some sort of input or say in the initial course design,
Right.
or the way the layout of the course, how it appears to them.
Yeah.
Is anybody working on something or have experience with anything related to course navigation and layout and student perceptions? No, it's a good one.
That's
So
a good
might borrow
question.
that later. So
So
thanks.
feel free.
All right, thank you.
Our students ask good questions. Okay. Another I prefer item. These are all our students' comments in a 30-minute consultation meeting with students, and they said a lot of things. And yeah, some course pages are really colorful, and some faculty prefer colorful course pages. But do they really work? Do they really help their perception? Because in a course, in an online course, some students tend to be receptive all the time. In order to make them productive, you have to set the stage in a really slightly challenging pedagogical way. And colors is one of the tools. And most of the students, 58%, they want an easy-to-read course design template with a few colors. They don't like the colorful learning environment. They prioritize readability and accessibility, consistent with Standard 8.1 and Standard 8.2. And you see, students' preferences are consistent with QM standards. This is what Tom and I try to see. And a colorful Blackboard course design? No, they don't want to see it. And this is, yeah, getting more complicated, I know, but as one student said, I would like to see, she said, more audio files. Another said something else. And in Blackboard, and they checked everything they wanted. And you know what? In this group, students wanted more visuals, more pictures, more authentic materials, more videos. I repeat, in a different class, in a different program, these numbers will be different. It's absolutely the same thing. If I do the same survey in a different section in early childhood program, results would be different. But for that specific group, You see, they said, hey, professor, I want more pictures, more visuals, more authentic materials, because I want that. I want to see to contextualize whatever I have learned in this course. I need more context to be productive. Tom?
Yeah, so I think this aligns with a lot with what QM tells us about having a variety of materials in the course and sort of making materials that appeal to a number of different types of learners. So does anybody have any sort of feedback or questions about that topic? Yeah, probably.
I just have a question. So for the courses that you were surveying the students in, did you do an audit of the courses to see like what percentage of the course content was text, what percentage was this, and try to get a baseline so that if they wanted more of something, you knew if that variety existed to begin with?
Yeah, that's a good question. Murat?
Yeah, actually, I checked the course, and this is pretty consistent with my observations. That course page was text-oriented. Yes, and students took the advantage of this opportunity to reflect, to express their ideas or comments. They said, in such a text-oriented learning medium under Blackboard, we cannot contextualize what you presented, professor. We need more input, more meaningful input. If you bombard us with discussion threads or texts, PDFs, okay, they are great materials, but what about the other forms of media that we need? Early childhood is not only a text-oriented, text-based discipline. They need lots of context videos and lots of visuals, lots of vignettes, stories. And this course, particular course, in that course, there was nothing. Only PDFs, only articles, and students had the chance to respond and react.
So yeah, again, so in this question, we're asking students what they prefer in terms of the length of audio materials. I think there's a follow-up that's very similar about the video materials. And I think the results are pretty similar. So we're asking them, what length of audio or video do you prefer? And it looks, the majority of students preferred 3 to 5 minutes, which again, I think aligns with what QM would tell us. And that doesn't mean that a specific topic needs to necessarily be distilled down into that, but it does mean that maybe we should think about chunking our materials in a way that is easily absorbed by students, in a way that they would prefer, a way that lets them reflect on their learning and what lets them get exposed to different voices or sources related around that particular topic. Because if you chunk it up, then you have the option of including different types of sources or resources to pull from, rather than just giving one authoritative person giving you an entire lecture on a topic. You can break it into smaller parts.
When we look at the numbers, we'll see some consistent response. Look at the second one, 3 to 5 minutes audio files. 52% people of the students preferred that. And when it comes to video materials, 46. When it comes to scientific studies, I don't believe in coincidences like that. This is not a coincidence. This is a valuable data, which tells us that students don't want to watch 45-minute video, which happened in another course. 45-minute video. I would fall asleep in an online course. And you remember that one of the first responses they had? Small videos, a series of small videos about different topics. So this is, students know more than us because they are aware of their potential and preferences. They know what they want. The discrepancy between our presentation and their perception might create some conflicts. And that is another reason why we did that. We would like to see in what areas that conflict happens. Okay. The final question was more complicated, but students liked it, you know? And we put all QM general standards. At least we put some keywords from QM standards, and they responded. And we said, how would you rate the importance of the following course elements? Okay, make a guess. Which one you think was the most popular one in that course? You have seen some basic data, basic responses. Okay, which one do you think students prioritized?
Yeah, so again, it might be hard to read from the back, but from top to bottom, we have course overview and introduction, or getting started. Clearly stated learning objectives, academic rigor, interaction in online community, instructor presence, including guidance, feedback, and expectations, course organization, or a variety of assignments and activities. So any guesses on how you think students would rank those? Go ahead.
Which one? Instructor presence.
Instructor presence, organization. Anyone else have any? Clearly stated learning objectives. So those are, see, when we're talking about these ideas, we're talking about what we think students are needs are. We're thinking about what our expectations of what their needs are. So again, this is why it's important to ask them, what are your preferences related? Maybe there are different ways to ask this or suss it out, but this is the question we ask. So go ahead and reveal the results.
And in the meantime, we put lots of options on the board for students. Students chose this list. We didn't ask them, or we didn't push them to choose this. Out of 20 keywords, they chose only these to respond. Okay, Tom.
Yeah, so and anybody who was betting on course organization, you guys came in first. And then right behind that was instructor presence, so good in the back there. Yeah, so and then you keep going down the list. I think it's just interesting to look at this, and I think it's interesting to look at this as an idea of making sure that you ask students what their preferences are. If you're gonna design based upon a set of standards or principles, and you're doing it for students, you should ask students what they prefer.
And after this slide, I sometimes get the feeling that it's a kind of neat analysis, you know? Students responded, and they expressed what they needed. And instructor presence and course organization, they needed immediately in a better constructivist online environment, learning environment. And, okay, we have another question, and we are going to reveal their answers again. Now we are asking this question to you guys. If you had the chance, assume that you are the students in that group. What would you be willing to change in Blackboard? You are in early childhood group in that class. What would you change? Yes.
I would definitely change immediate video conferencing. So if I have office hours, because I hold office hours for my online class, that if I'm at my desk or near, I would say immediate video conferencing. I hold office hours for my online class where I use to collaborate. But if I'm actually at my desk and available through my my office hours, where they could just ring me in. And so that I would be available, not having to set up an appointment to make sure we're both on collaborate at the same time. Because a lot of times we're on at the same time. It's just that there's a delay in questions. So if they could almost like FaceTime me or Zoom me or something through Blackboard would be perfect.
Yeah, sometimes in online education we forget the meaning of collaboration. Yeah, thank you for reminding us. Any ideas? I have the microphone, guys. Don't miss the opportunity or I'm going to start singing. And it's going to be a lifetime experience for you. Okay.
Canvas does have an interaction tool where it can be with individual students or as an entire group. And I found with my online students, I as well have online office hours, and it's been a great tool to connect with them to know that you are accessible.
Yes.
The nice thing about it is there's a whiteboard that you can actually write on and bring up your PowerPoints and go over everything as if you were live.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, accessibility, another key word here.
Is it a big blue button? Is that what
Yes,
they call it?
it is.
That's what we used to.
Okay, any ideas? No? Okay, Tom, let's release Kraken.
Bring it back for a second. So this survey question at the end of our survey for students was, we asked them the same question. We asked, if you had a chance, would you be willing to change in the design of your online course? And so we took their responses, just like your responses, and we distilled it down into what it meant in terms of what was the keyword we thought it was associated with. And that's where we came up with our little, and sorry if it's not as great as some of the word clouds I've seen today, but this is what we came up with in terms of their responses and how it fit into our thinking about design and what was important for them and what they wanted to change. So what they wanted to change in their environment. So there's some big key words in here: ease of use, navigation, organization, consistency, media content, and they get smaller and they get into.
We get nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing. Some of them said nothing, but a lot of them took the time to put in the narrative. They put in exactly what they're looking for and what their struggles are, which was important to us and valuable to us. And had we not asked the question, again, it's about asking them. If we had not asked that question, we may not have known that, and it may not have been obvious to us. So after this, I guess we talk about how we took this back to the faculty member, right?
Yeah. And we switch to the next one. I would like to highlight one thing critical in our study. It's I love statistical analysis, but when you do something complementary, a qualitative analysis like this, Qualtrics does that, and it gives you some kind of triangulation. If it supports your statistical analysis, it verifies the responses quality. And there's something students would like to say. And here, navigation, you see, ease of use, organization. And the next one is consistency. In that group, I can say that the priority of that group should be built upon these 4 basic concepts.
So back to our recap of questions. So I just wanted to give a chance for the group to sort of revisit the idea of how you're asking students what they prefer in terms of online quality, and how your approach might change going forward, and any ideas you might have related to it. Go ahead from the back. I'll try to repeat your question. Go ahead.
One of the things I found is that students are our best resource, and we are missing out on a lot of really good feedback like you guys have brought up. But it's also about the timing of when you evaluate and you get that survey. I know that at the end of the semester, they're already done with the class. They know it's not going to help them to get any feedback. So in my particular course, I do a survey at 3 weeks, which they've been through an entire lecture as well as a test, so they're very familiar with how the course is going to be ran at midpoint and then at the end of the semester, but it's specific to that course. So it's maybe we use the simulator, it's not institutional. Now our institution does do an end of the semester review, but to me that's pertinent to my class and how I conduct it. And I have received so many good ideas from the students to be able to be a better teacher in that fashion that I wouldn't have thought of, but from their seats they can see, hey, this is a gap that we can and before the semester ends.
That's great. I was hoping to be able to repeat all that. I obviously can't, but no, that's valuable insight that we need to touch base with them, but we also need to touch base with them periodically to make sure that we're checking in with them in terms of their needs, and we also need to make sure that it's relevant to what their experience is. If the course is different in some way, we need to make sure that we take that into account. It just can't be a generic blank set of questions that's the common amongst the whole program. It has to be specific to them, their needs, and their experiences. And along the way, maybe we adjust our questions based upon the types of feedback they're providing us. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? I'll bring it to you.
Question about any demographics on your group, on your student group?
We just have the gender statistics, and they are 18, 19,
It's undergraduate program, so we could probably pull some demographic numbers based upon the general population there, but we don't have any specific right now. Yeah. Anyone else?
Do you think the student responses would have changed if we were looking at QM certified courses, or have you thought about getting those courses QM certified and comparing student responses?
They might. And Bethany, I'm really willing to do similar things with a QM certified course. Maybe we will have really significant data, and we may have really surprising findings. I'm really curious about that. And Tom and I, we considered this as the first step of our scholarly efforts. And we have some other plans to expand this in terms of content, and maybe we're going to apply similar surveys in different disciplines, and we are going to see the interpretation of subject matter by faculty school-wide, and maybe we are going to get significant data. Maybe there's an ideal way to present some courses, and maybe there is a common tendency or preferences of certain groups. I really would like to say it. If there is school organization integrating QM into school curriculum or syllabus would be much easier. I think it opens the door to a lot of options. But, you know, I strongly believe that we should converse with our students more often. Because Confucius, he says, if there is a monologue, there's a problem. If there's a dialogue, now we talk. And I don't put the blame on anyone, but sometimes I do that too. I talk, but sometimes I fail to listen. Maybe it is time to listen to our kids, our students. And if we listen, closely listen, you remember the word I mentioned, lontano, Italian word? It is distant, but I know it exists. Maybe it's time to forget about that word. Maybe we should get closer to our students to hear their voices better, because they would like to speak. But in online classes, you have seen the most problematic area was the instructor's presence. My professor is not there, so how can I communicate with that? If there's a problem about that, you see, everything is like a chain. Our job here, if we have rings, this is all about constructivism. If you have rings, maybe it is time to put the rings together to make a good chain, beautiful chain. Unfortunately, sometimes our chain is broken. And that's why Tom and I will prioritize QM. QM gives the meaning and purpose to create such a beautiful chain. Otherwise, all our efforts are scattered. If there is no cohesiveness, no unity in your efforts, in our efforts, so what are we working for? You see? I'm sorry.
That was beautiful. That was tough.
Do I talk like Confucius?
No, that was great.
What's going on?
I just want to say, one thing we do is we have a course development workshop where we have faculty in our workshop, and we do bring a student panel into that. And it's always been great. They were just in the Friday before last. We call for volunteers though, and the students come in. It's amazing to me that they'll come and they'll sit and they'll tell the faculty what their experience with online courses has been, what they like, what they don't like.
Yeah.
They will come up with some of the best ideas, that I just never thought of.
Creative.
Yeah, they're very creative. Yeah. Now on that question of, we've asked them like, our LMS is different than Blackboard, but we've asked them like, what would you change? Like, do a survey. What would you change in Brightspace? Sadly, more than half of the responses we got back were things the system already did. But that told me that we needed to communicate more about what the system already does. Exactly. But that was a little bit shocking. Like, students are out there, I want this, I want that. I'm like, that's all of these things. They just don't know where to find it. So, but anyway, bringing the students into that faculty workshop has just been huge. Like, the faculty can't say enough good things about it, and they're very articulate.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that if I can a little bit, because one of the things that a survey like this doesn't really do is why are the students answering the way they're answering. So for instance, if you ask a student, do you want to watch a 5-minute video versus versus a 45-minute video. Of course, they're going to say they want to watch the 5-minute video because it's a short amount of time. They might not realize, well, I'm going to be watching a multiple amount of 5-minute videos that are going to total 45 minutes. So a lot of times, I'd like to hear why, because if some of the students say, well, I want the 5-minute videos because I want to, take all of the different objectives and hear them separately and may be able to go back to the ones I still need to learn, that's one thing. But if it really is because they think that, okay, it's a less amount of time, then, so I'd love to, I love your idea of getting the students in there because, yeah, you've got this survey, but you don't necessarily know why they're picking what they're picking. And I find with other students, same idea I think that you have is that, a lot of students have only taken online courses with one particular thing like Blackboard. They don't know other options. So for instance, I took a course online not too long ago, and what I really liked about it is every time I completed something, a little checkbox went up. And Blackboard doesn't really have that. And it's like, oh, that'd be nice to have in Blackboard. But our students don't know about it because they only know Blackboard. So, it's hard because they don't know what else is out there. But I like the idea of the discussion because why are they picking these answers, I think, is as critical as what the answers are.
I agree completely. When we were looking at the data we collected, those are the things that jumped out at us.
Yeah.
We were like, we really should know why this is.
Why?
How are they interpreting the question is a big question
Yeah,
for
and
me.
you brought that up a couple of
So
times.
it's one of those things where I'd really like to get more information from them. But that's why we're starting the conversation, just so we get some ideas on how to do that better.
To the comment on getting the dialogue, sometimes I'll do those surveys, but as a private journal entry, and around like week 4 or 5, like you said. And two things I do slightly different is I'll ask them, what could I do differently to help you succeed in this course? And then you get some of those interesting answers too. And sometimes they'll throw in, well, in this other course they do this, but kind of put it on them and not just do you like it or not like it. And then also by it being a journal entry, when it's those systematic things, or they just went right to the assignment and didn't read the instructions, it helps me one-on-one either schedule a meeting or send them an email directly, get some of those misunderstandings or just things they're not aware of clarified. And you can't do it with too large of a course, obviously, but it's a good way to get some individual feedback and help those individual students get back on track.
Yeah, that's great. I know I've taken a few workshops through Bethany, and one of the things that I really liked about that was the opportunity to reflect on the learning and how well the module or the activities or assignments aligned with what my expectations were and how well they sort of helped me with the objectives for that particular section. So I really appreciate that, and I learned a lot from that, taking courses through that, but also in my practice working with faculty. I think it's important to have those check-ins, like you're saying, periodic check-ins, and just make sure that you're getting that feedback from students, because asking students is the only way you know how they perceive it. Anything else?
I would like to close it with Wittgenstein. He said, all your days are equal, identical are the same. What changes is your attitude or the meaning you assign to it. And if we give our students a chance to express themselves, I think they are going to make the difference. And if you do in the future similar research, or if you'd like to contact with us for further possibilities, let's talk. Maybe we're going to come up with better productive ideas. And maybe we're going to find good strategies, more productive strategies that will
The honeymoon continues. Yeah, this is great.
Yes, as of April 10. Okay. Tom, anything you would like to say?
No, thank you.
After my boring closing?
No. I like it. I like you quoted Confucius somewhere in there, so that was great.
Oh, yes, sir.
But yeah, thank you all for coming. This has been great. I hope you got something out of this. At least I hope we all appreciate and recognize that student perspective is important, and how we assess that, thinking about it, whether or not this is the appropriate approach or there's a better approach, just keeping that on the radar is, I think, essential to what we do here collectively. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.